Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Outer Worlds. Such a beautiful place, isn't it? Okay then. Sorry. Shall we speak?
Well, well. Isn't often we see new folk in Stellar Bay. First drink's on me, stranger.
I will pass.
Suit yourself. If you plan on sitting through Nyoka's stories, you might could use a few.
I could use a few and telling them myself.
Now what can I do for you?
Well, how well do you know Nyoka?
Anyone who spends any amount of time in this bar is bound to get to know Nyoka. On account of her being here so often herself. And I don't mean that unkindly. Anyone who's rid us of as many beasts as you have is entitled to a few drinks. Something else I can do for you?
You said you're not used to seeing new faces around here.
Not since Amber Heights. These days we have more leaving than coming. Off to join the iconoclasts or some such.
What about the Amber Heights?
Bunch of marauders broke into the executive compound, slaughtered everyone. Corporations pulled out of Monarch not long after. I thought everyone knew. But then that was 10 years ago. Still feels fresh to us every time we look at our walls, though.
So, why is this place called the Yacht Club?
Thought it had a fancy ring to it. Name's the first advertising anyone sees, after all.
Well, are there any yachts in Stellar Bay?
Nope. But a man can dream.
And why not? Yachts would be perfect if you want to travel alone and show the galaxy off to people. Especially the rich people who can afford their own ships. Okay, I just answered my own stupid question. Is that an energy brick? It's so alcohol in here. Such a pity. Only toxin-free. Immunizes harmless status effects, duration minus 50%. So, you must be Nyoka.
And the little bastard's slippery, right? On account of its blood, so it's sliding. All over the place, trying to crawl away. Getting so I can't tell the blood from the mud. But I gotta get in there. Get right in that baby rap's stomach and dig it out. If so much as a drop of stomach acid got on that medallion, shit, I don't know what I'd do. Might be I'd hunt every damn wrapped out there. Right. What are you staring? Wait. You ain't from around here. Who are you?
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Name's Nyoka. I'm the best big game hunter on the planet.
You're also the loudest big game hunter on the planet. And the drunkest.
Shut the Fair point. I deserve it, though. On account of being the best.
Well, she is confident, but she drinks a lot, so I don't think I want her for my crew. Wait, you are supposed to join me, that's what this weird hair is about, right? So, are you always this drunk?
If you think this is drunk, I gotta... you need to get out more. Sit, partake, buy me a drink and let's chat.
I'm told you can get me to an information broker.
Well. Let's get down to brass nuts then, shall we? Wait, that ain't it. Brass rats? Let's talk business. I'm headed back out there after I sober up. You want a guide sooner than that? You have to get me something to clear my head.
I don't need an escort. Just tell me how to get to the Devil's Peak.
Oh, you want information for nothing. Very well. I am no match for your your yammering. Here's how to get to Devil's Peak. Go south. Along the road, not the river. Look for the mountain with devil horns. Watch out for raps. and mana swarms, and marauders, sulfur pits, and... You know, it'd really be safer if I went with you. You want to reconsider sobering me up?
Okay, what do you need?
Outstanding! Our dispensary here maintains a stock of, well, I don't rightly know what they are. Steroid or caffeine somethings? Pills. They're very good. I'm cut off for the month, on account of needing one just about every damn day. But I'm sure you've got your wily ways. Fetch me one and we'll be all set.
You mean caffeinoid? That stuff is just stimulant.
Well, they work. We got a deal or what?
Forget it.
You do what you like, stranger. I'll be here in the meantime.
You dress funny. I do like her pink pants though. She looks like a bloody joker. Maybe it's the hair. Or the stupid attitude. She does seem insane. Well, I dislike her already. Let's ignore this drunk. The empty man. Tracked down? No. Monarch. Missing passcode. Convince Velma to negotiate. Right, let's go with this.
We're not the best equipped, but scouting for rats keeps us on our toes.
Oh, you have heavy weapons, so that's nice.
Got any news from the rest of Halcyon?
Get lost.
If you want to talk to the boss, she's in the back of the warehouse.
Isn't that just lovely? Doesn't seem like there's anything here I need.
Quietly now.
Okay, let's take a look at you. You know, I think you'll fit Ellie fine. She'll love it. See? It looks terrible. Heavy armor. Medium armor. This gives you inspiration, which we don't need, frankly. Victor, what about you? Yeah, you can wear that. Anything here I may or may not need? 50. Well, that's a bit awkward. Please enter authorization code to access personal files, okay? Boward V. Wilmer's personal file RMRS, a supply contracts, orders forms, spreadsheets, and financial records. Careful study of her financials reveals that for some past several years she has been slowly siphoning money from their operating project into a personal account. The theft is cleverly hidden. Individual inquiries could be executed as rounding errors or mistakes in simple arithmetic. The sheer volume of currencies, however, indicates deliberate intent. To hedge. The fish at tank 23A are looking a little bit lumpy. If you are not going to make it in and find, but you have to let me know so I can stay on top of those doses. Really need to talk about the Sautuna station. I've had to let 4 branches rot in the warehouse over the last 2 months because we're not finding buyers. I know the situation with the board puts us in tough situation, but we need to start thinking about how we're going to keep the Stellar Bay afloat if we can't get any sales. Seriously, where are you? You've missed 3 shifts. This is getting ridiculous, even for you. Ooh. Apparently I'm sleepy. There we go. That will keep us afloat for a few more hours. How did you get here? And we discovered a workbench. Steel riot control armor. Well, the upgrades would be nice.
Hey, I saw that. What do you think you're doing?
Nothing.
Just keep your fingers to your own self, okay?
Perfect.
Trying to get us all in trouble. What do you think you're doing?
Nothing.
Just don't make any trouble for me, okay?
Okay, not bad. Let's get out of here. Yes, we've been here already, and here as well. Maybe I should invest some more in lockpicking. I wish I had a companion that gives me that. Okay, apparently I missed something in here. Any named characters I can speak with?
Wouldn't mind smelling like something.
Look, you can tell Catherine the new shipment will be ready when it's ready, all right? She's welcome to come up here and pack boxes herself if she's in such a hurry.
Well, Catherine said she'd shove you in a box if you keep running your map like that.
Did she now? Well, I can see I was mistaken. Because if Catherine really had sent you, there'd be a lot more expletives in your message. I hope you can forgive my temper. This job has been running me ragged lately. First, my autoloader foreman stages a walkout, and now my chief pescatological health manager is missing.
Your chief what?
Braxton. He's in charge of getting the fish fat, but also making sure they don't get too many tumors. He's a real wizard with pharmaceuticals, but he has creative notions of working hours. Comes with living in a free colony, I guess.
Don't you have rules about that sort of thing?
We're not keen on rules for rules' sake around here. Means Braxton skips work sometimes, but it also means no company boss is telling me when I can take a shit. Since you don't seem to be constrained yourself, maybe you could check up on him. He lives in the apartments. Tell him Velma said to get his lazy ass down here, or she might start noticing those extra drugs he's been taking from supply. Something else on your mind?
Let's talk about Caleb.
Unless you're here to tell me he's agreed to do his job again, I've got nothing to say.
Why can't you give him any more money?
I don't have the bits for it, plain and simple. Besides, if I make an exception for him, I gotta do the same for everyone.
She's principled, in at least this area. I will begrudgingly give her that.
Thank you. I think. If Caleb wants to keep this job, he'd better get back to it. I'm about ready to hire sublight contractors at this rate.
Well, someone's going to notice your shift roles before long. You're going to be held responsible.
Maybe so, but I bet you Caleb runs out of bits first. Then he'll have to come back. He says he's got a stash to tide his crew over. Could be he's all talk, but if the money's real, I bet you he keeps it at home. Near the diner.
Oh, I did see your account. You've been skimming money for years. You can afford to pay more.
Yeah, and did you miss the part where I'm working doubles to cover for everyone who decides not to show?
Ironic, isn't it?
I'm the one who keeps this place running. That money's mine, one way or another.
Well, that sounds remarkably like Caleb's argument.
Fine. Tell Caleb he and his team can have their raise, but I need them back here immediately.
So, who is this Catherine you mentioned when I first came in?
Sublight boss out of Fallbrook. Handles most goods that come in or out of Stellar Bay. Has a mouth like a ground six spacer.
You said Braxton had been stealing drugs.
Stealing's such a nasty word. Let's call it skimming. And yeah, let's just say I've noticed the sterile biotics we use for the fish would get used a little faster on Braxton's shifts.
You should have hung that seal's bag out to dry.
Someone would have if this were a corporate town. But we pride ourselves on giving people a little breathing room. Besides, the Spacer's Choice stuff we use is cheap enough. And Braxton knows how to get the salt tuna, fat and mostly tumor-free.
Very well, I'll leave you here for now. And so, I'm gonna go and tell these guys that I've managed to uncover the secrets she was hiding. Persuasion 100, that's a long way from my league.
Could I get another advance, Mr. Nandi?
Just make sure it's properly logged.
I'll note it next to the others, sir.
View guidelines for annual self-review. Select front in annual self-review, format annual self-review, schedule time to write annual self-review, write annual self-review. Tell Celia she's doing an excellent job. Aussie puzzle cube. Okay. There's a lot of vending machines in this town. What is this? Why is it so expensive? Enray.
Greetings, and welcome to Monarch Stellar Industries, producers and purveyors of the finest salt tuna in Halcyon. What can I do for you today?
I'm just looking around.
Oh, in that case, welcome to MSI headquarters. Mr. Nandi runs things for Stellar Bay from here. Apart from that, we've got a bar, a diner, and a really great animal parts vendor.
An animal parts vendor.
Raptidon acid some days. Other times it's canid teeth. Whatever Sebastian has in stock, really.
And why are you buying from Sebastian?
So I can talk to him, of course. He doesn't get going about much else. Sort of the strong, silent type. Unfortunately, my apartment's kind of filling up with his stuff. And some of the neighbors are complaining about the smell.
Maybe I can talk to Sebastian for you.
Would you? I'd appreciate that so much. Maybe don't tell him I wanted you to ask. Just that you met this really nice lady named Celia, and she seemed... Oh, Mr. Nandi's doing that thing where he breathes through his nose real slowly. I'd better get back to work.
Wait, I'm curious. What do you see in Sebastian?
He doesn't talk much, but he's got this quiet intensity, you know? Like there's stuff going on inside his head that you have no idea about. Plus, he's got great legs. It's hard to find a man who doesn't skimp on lower body exercises.
Good to have standards, I guess.
I know what I'm looking for.
You really want to be with someone who you can't talk to?
You think that's what I'm looking for? You're funny.
Well, there are other fish in the sea.
Not in Stellar Bay. Everyone else who isn't taken either smells like salt tuna or they're my boss. Besides, a man with a good smile and a proportionate upper to lower body ratio isn't something to pass up.
You're a weird one.
Sorry, sometimes I get carried away.
I've noticed. Alright then, shall we speak?
Well, new business turns up at last. Celia, didn't I tell you our new statistics-based advertising model would be a hit?
That you did, sir.
How can yield improvements of 26.7% not quicken the pulse? How can 32% cost savings not moisten the loins?
You've often posed these very questions.
Clear my schedule. This newcomer has a meeting with me.
Now you have a meeting with me.
You'd be a hit in Byzantium.
Did you hear that power play, Celia? They don't make them like this anymore in Halcyon. I only hope you don't judge me by my handshake. Now, what business brings you here?
I'm looking for the information broker.
Hiram? Why, he's probably still out at Devil's Peak. Not that he's had the courtesy to notify me, at any rate. But if you're here for him, I suppose that means you aren't here for Saltuna.
Hey, it can always be both.
Now, there's no need to humor me. I'm used to this particular letdown. I had hoped that livening up our advertisements with enticing figures would draw the other corporations back to our bosom, but it seems we're back to the drawing board.
And what is it exactly that you are hoping to accomplish?
Thanks to the so-called hazard clause, Monarch has been cut off from the board's resources and protection for 10 years now. Now, we've kept ourselves in business by trading with individual corporations, but given the off-the-books nature of those transactions, such arrangements are precarious.
And you were tired of scrounging and scraping by, is that it?
Yes, freedom is a tempting ideal, but a rather costly paramour.
Exactly. Intellectualism fuels the train to mankind's future, but the tracks the train runs on are forged from practicality.
What?
Yes, it's as though the good vicar has plucked the very words from my brain.
So, what do you mean to do about it?
Well, Mr. Nandi here has a rather ingenious plan to get MSI restored to the board.
On our terms, mind you.
Ingenious plan? Don't get me wrong, I'm starting to admire your sand, but I bet you could overcomplicate a sisty sandwich.
What a charmingly roguish turn of phrase. Allow me to express my thanks at your confidence and assure you that my plan is indeed sufficiently complicated.
And if our advertising scheme hasn't borne fruit, then perhaps it's time we took matters into our own hands.
This lady knows what's going on.
It's true, our Celia is an alarmingly competent middle manager. At any other company, she'd be wasted in data entry. The plan she refers to is a two-pronged approach, and the first part involves seeing Stellar Bay properly defended.
And how long did it take you to figure out that you need to defend your city?
Not long, but the devil is always in the details. And the salient detail here is a Bolt 52 cartridge. If you can get us what we need to rejoin the board, starting the Bolt 52, we'll be able to become one of the most productive and secure cities in Halcyon.
And you'll have a powerful ally on the board.
Well, this Bolt 52 sounds very useful. What is it exactly?
Why, one of the strongest defenses in Halcyon. An extremely powerful ordnance.
Never realized fighting the bureaucracy could be this interesting.
It is quite the rush.
Ordnance or ordnance?
An ordinance, of course. We do things in a civilized fashion here, not like Graham's iconoclasts.
Of course he wants to fight bureaucracy with paperwork. I should have known.
And once you have this Boat 52, what's the other part of your plan?
I'll need to gather some supplemental materials, but I mustn't get ahead of myself.
You do tend to do that.
The Bolt 52 will be in the old arms building southwest of town, which used to be part of Stellar Bay before we had to move our walls in. And These days, it's overrun with marauders and raptidons.
I don't have the perception for that. Well then, I guess I'll go get your boat 52.
Do be careful. I've lost more than a few people to marauders and raptidons out there. Oh, and while you're at it, there should be a terminal in the arms building with some dangerous information. Perhaps you could delete it so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Well, before I go, I need to ask you something else.
What can I do for you?
I met Grimm, the landing port guard.
I see. And was his delivery of the MSI authorized greeting up to snuff?
Oh, that guy's a world-class moron.
He's not the brightest of minds, but he makes up for it with enthusiasm.
That's not what I would call it.
Still, I had him posted on the landing pad in hopes that he'd stay out of everyone's way. I'll see about additional training.
Okay, I have a question about MCI and the good of old days.
Then it's good that I keep such meticulous notes.
Cool. So how did the MCI get kicked off the board in the first place?
I've asked myself the same thing many times, especially seeing as the legal mechanisms we employed were part of the board's own bylaws.
Do you mean to tell me that you initiated your own removal from the board?
Not intentionally, though that's technically true. For many years, this planet was home to as many corporations as Terra 2. Back then, it was known as Terra 1.
Terra 1 and Terra 2. I see the board put their best people on the...
Really? I always thought they were refreshingly straightforward names. After all, the whole point of terraforming was to make them Earth-like.
Here, though, the results were mixed.
And as the other corporations began to tally their losses, they decided to pull out.
Oh, that seems a bit wise.
MSI's leadership at the time certainly thought so.
And how did that work out?
Most regard Monarch as a lost cause. But there were others of us who saw an opportunity. The chance to improve working hours and conditions, to reform MSI from the ground up.
Well, reforms are for quitters, Snayer.
Nonsense! They're good business sense. Exhausted, sick, and malnourished workers are not productive workers. Even a cursory review of the data bears that out. Anyway, we learned of a loophole in the corporate bylaws that would allow MSI to claim ownership of the entire planet once the other corporations pulled out, creating the perfect environment for us to enact these new reforms.
So you're using the board's own tools against them?
That's what I thought. But the senior executives laughed in our faces and insisted we'd be relocating to Terra 2 along with everyone else.
Yet here you are.
Yes, some of us stayed behind, and as the most senior executive remaining, I ended up in charge of what was left of MSI.
Must have pissed off some real big suits to get stuck with that.
On the contrary, I wrote lots of very important reports on behalf of top MSI officials before I was able to achieve this position. I moved forward with our planned reforms, as well as our strategy to assume ownership of the planet. Yet not long after I renamed it Monarch, the other corporations dislodged us from the board and began an official campaign to paint us as lawless savages.
And why would they do that?
I don't know. Everything we did was legal and above board. We followed their rules, and yet they still found reasons to declare us outlaws. I do think there's something useful in a governing body like the board. Something that keeps us from anarchy, but I dearly wish it functioned differently.
You don't seem to think much of Graham.
He and his followers call themselves the Iconoclasts. Lawless anarchists, all of them. If anyone on Monarch deserves the reputation the board's pinned on us, it's them.
I will admit, I am keen to meet their leader.
Well, be careful what you wish for. Graham has a habit of ruining everything, and everyone around him.
Well, you've got a strong feeling of the matter, don't you?
I'm trying to build something here. They only want to destroy things, and they risk ruining Monarch for all of us. It isn't just that they drain our people and resources. Every radical act they commit cements Halcyon's image of us all as destructive rebels, and pushes us further from the rest of the colony. He's lucky the board doesn't take him seriously enough to keep more than a few UDL gunships patrolling Monarch.
An Earth Directorate assault cruiser would change his tune. It's almost a shame we haven't seen one around Monarch in a long while.
So, what is the hazard clause?
It's a legal provision that gives the board the authority to cordon off any planet or location that it deems dangerous.
A necessary evil for the greater good of society.
That's exactly how the board describes it.
But you sound skeptical.
Monarch may be dangerous, but it's hardly the wasteland the board describes it to be. Whatever the board's goals, the greater good has little part in them.
And why do you want back in the board again?
Why wouldn't anyone? They own nearly all the resources and infrastructure in Halcyon.
Without the board, chaos would overtake the system. Working within the established order isn't a principle to snub one's nose at, Captain.
If you can't beat him, might as well join him and reach into their pockets.
To be on the board is to be part of the colonial community, and being cut off means slow strangulation.
Well, seems to me anything's better than that corporate yacht.
I fear the MSI citizens who've been dissolved into Raptidon Cud would disagree with you. If membership on the board can ease our hardships and provide us with opportunities, then that's the path I mean to pursue. Besides, I'm hopeful that additional leverage on our part will allow us a more equitable relationship.
Leverage.
Don't get ahead of yourself, sir.
Yes. It'll be easier to explain once we have the Bolt 52. My hope is to maintain the reforms we've managed here, and who knows? Perhaps once we're restored, we could spread them to other corporations.
Anyway, let's talk about something else.
What can I do for you?
Never mind. Monarch Stellar. Sounds like someone needs a beer. I need to go and sleep. Well, hello there, Adreno 2.
I'll keep quiet.
Thanks for that, I actually thought this guy saw me.
Velma seem out of sorts to you?
She's always cranky.
No, I mean more than usual.
Wouldn't know. I made it a point to stay out of her way.
Here's the thing about these people. I mean, they can build their own army, they have their own planet. Yeah, let them call you savages, but if you have power and resources, they will have no other choice but to accept you. Or you can force them to, that always works. Please enter your assigned login guardians. If you've forgotten your assigned login guardians, please report to your supervisor for reassignment. Welcome, E. Williams. Please select the following menu options. Patient records, Nyoka. Medical engineer notes, liver damage likely the result of prolonged alcoholism. Attitude problem, like the rest of the prolonged alcoholism. Frequent social withdrawal, likely the result of prolonged alcoholism. She's a wreck. I'm happy I didn't get her to her crew. Leonzo. Nice. Data storage. I had hypnotized that the combination might awaken my mind and sense the greater realities around us. If that is true, then it seems my faculties were quite overwhelmed in the instance. Shortly after dosage, I experienced a cold sweat, tremors, and mild paranoia. It is perhaps due to these latter effects that most of my notes from the episode are little use. Nonetheless, the effects were most invigorating. I will have to attempt a milder dosage once heart fallopians subsides. After my previous experiment, I theorized that deadening the extensional senses might allow my mind's eye to glimpse at the eternal. Alas, I was only partially successful. The combination of substances quickly rendered me both blind and feeble, so much so that I soon fell into a stupor. I awoke some hours later in a pile of my own sick. Why would you write that? And the most curious carving for Tillarius. File empty. Well, he's dead. Stellar Bride. She is a wide-eyed colonist from Earth. He is a hard-working Sautuna farmer from Monarch. Their attraction blossoms into a whirlwind romance that transforms Stellar Bay, a long way from Arkansas. You can put your things here, Mr. Elliot said, leading Abby into the dip apartment's place. It was a small but had such a cozy charm. Abby set her bags on the floor and loosened the straps of her jumpsuit. Mr. Elliot caught his face suddenly red. If you get warm, you can always crack the window. Breeze from the bay is real nice, just be careful about main swarm. As Abby went to take the room key, her fingers brushed his. He had a strong, rough hand, and Sautuna farmer's hand. Okay, why would you say hands twice? She felt herself blush. You've been ever so kind to me, Mr. Elliot. Call me Archibald, he said. A renegade iconoclast, driven by his ideas, finds love in the arms of a mysterious man with a troubled past. Will he follow his head or his heart? Tall, dark and handsome. Come on up, said the voice on the calm. It was dangerous and smooth, in a way that reminded Broderick of an iceberg-aged whiskey. The door slid open with a whisper of perfumed air. The hair rose along the nape of the neck, and he proceeded up the stairs. The broker sat with his back to the top of the line, mostly charcoal, personal heater, slender finger tendon. So this was the mysterious recluse who manipulated the monarch from afar. Broderick could feel the warmth of the hatred from across the room, but it was the look in the broker's eyes that had him feeling feverish. The broker produced a pair of glasses and the bottle of smoothant that looked expensive. He poured it off and held one glass out to Broderick. For me, he asked, trying to ignore the man's smoldering gaze. Indeed, the broker purred. I hear a man of both tastes. Broderick took the glass. The broker continued, dark hair falling over, darker eyes. That is why I've got a rare proposition for you. The glass nearly slipped from Broderick's hands. He drank it in one gulp and hid the tremor in his hand. He turned all the way down. A battle-hardened young Earth Directorate soldier visits a remote clinic on Monarch to heal his injuries, but when he meets Gail, an elegant older nurse, she goes to work on his heart as well. Wow, terrible. Healing touch. Fletcher held her tightly. His stride had returned, that much was clear, yet here he remained, at the clinic, with her. He shook his head as if he'd read her mind. With his perfect green eyes, Gael, the Earth Directorate's calling me back. They want me protecting Byzantium, but I don't know how to leave, not after what we've found together. Then stay, she whispered, letting her breath warm his ear. I can't certainly find a position for you here. All lost, he mourned, pulling her closer. She pressed a finger to his lips. Shh. The only wall here is love. Terrible. You have no talent whatsoever. Well, since I'm thirsty, I might as well go back to my ship. Drink, sleep, and come back. I can't just keep on chugging energy drinks and... Are you upgraded in some way? No, it's just physical damage and it's not that good, honestly. Oh. My mistake. Against all odds, the unreliable takes flight. Well then, let's go get some sleep. I'm sure it's going to be incredibly important.
Welcome back. Do wipe the blood and space dust from your feet in the entry bay. Thank you.
Is there anything I need to leave here? We do have 2 guns. You know, now that I think about it, maybe I need to break them down. I do have level 80. The next level is against robots. It's not actually something that will give me any benefits. Engineering 80, 77. Adjusted skills value because of fatigue. Can we speak?
Welcome back, Captain. How can I be of assistance? What part of the colony would you like to discuss?
Tell me about Monarch.
Where in Monarch?
Tell me about Stellar Bay.
Ah, Monarch. The armpit of the Halcyon system. Her last functioning port town is Stellar Bay. Well, that is if you don't count Sublight's smuggler's port at Fallbrook.
So why is it being blockaded?
I believe it has something to do with the planet being an uninhabitable wilderness and a lawless land with no corporate presence. You may wish to survey the residents in Stellar Bay for additional data points.
Smuggler report.
It's Sublight run for the purpose of shipping contraband, and before you ask, I don't know the coordinates, so I can't dock us there.
Well, I'm sure we can find out at some point. Thank you.
See you soon, Captain.
Right there. And we sleep. 6 hours. I guess that's enough. It is. I'm thirsty and hungry. Perfect. Monarch. There is a whole planet around that moon. Anyway, I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you all for joining me, and I'm gonna see you all next time. Goodbye.